Good morning, I'm Frank Powers, and this is Lifestyle Tucson, the program where I speak to our neighbors, the people behind the scenes of our amazing organizations, small businesses, and nonprofits. Our friends are informing you how they serve our community, and they are here to give you updates on future projects. Let's make some old friends today. Saguaro City Music Theater seeks to create a cultural hub that is uniquely Tucsonan by partnering with local artisans and businesses, as well as offering inclusive arts access to the entire community. And next up from them is a Night of Legends Unleashed. Step into the heart of rock and roll history as you're transported back to the iconic Sun Record Studio on December 4th, 1956. It was a night that changed music forever, the night the $1 Million Quartet was born. Experience the magic of Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and Elvis Presley coming together for an unforgettable jam session delivering an extraordinary score that spans rock and roll, gospel, R&B, and country in this irresistible tale of broken promises, secrets, betrayal, and celebrations. Laugh, cry, stomp your feet, and relive the era. This smash hit sensation that captures the essence of a time when legends were made. And speaking of legends, today I'm here with Drew Humphrey, Artistic Director of Saguaro City Music Theater. Drew, welcome back to Lifestyle Tucson.
Thanks, Frank.
But yes, right here we've got actress Crystal Star. Crystal, welcome to Lifestyle Tucson.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. And we've also got good friend, local actor, taking care of business, Tyler Wright. Tyler, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Frank.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I love having talent in the studio. And I was talking to you off air about how I love talking to Saguaro City Music Theater because really it's the best talking to your organization, what you do for the community. All your shows are great, helping out kids, a lot of the fun stuff going on that you have going on. But real quick, give me a little 101, in case it's anyone's first time listening, about what Saguaro City is all about, Drew.
We are about providing as much artistic opportunities to this community as we can possibly develop and create. We really focus on three things. One of our central missions is to provide inclusive arts education to children of all abilities, particularly those with exceptional needs, at tuition-free, barrier-free access to the arts. It's super important to us, and we feel like it's a way to bring in not only new audience members, but give kids of all ages an opportunity to see what musical theater is and is all about, and give them an opportunity to develop new friendships, develop confidence, and a new community.
Heck yeah.
Aside from that, we like to produce the best entertainment that we can muster and put it on the stage for the community of Tucson to enjoy. And that's where $1 Million Quartet fits into that mission. And then thirdly, we've got a new entertainment studio series where we partner with local composers to help them develop new works, whether it's a musical, new ideas. And right now we're working with a very talented composer named Cameron Hood on his new musical, Voyagers, a space rock opera.
That's amazing. I've met Cameron Hood. Where did I meet Cameron Hood?
Cameron Hood of Ryan Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so incredible. That's going to be some thrilling new stuff.
Yeah,
we've
been working with him for a couple of years now. We've done about 3 workshops. We've done 2 public workshops. Tyler went and saw the last one.
I did. It was fantastic.
It's an amazing piece of work, and we're excited to continue to work with Cameron and bring it to Tucson at large.
That's amazing. I'll tell you, when we first met, I actually thought, and I was not correct. I thought that you worked exclusively with kids, and then that's why when I saw Little Shop of Horrors, I was like, wait a minute, this is actually adult, and there's cursing, and this is very entertaining and fun, but accidentally brought a kid to it, but he had a great time. But that was the thing, is that I thought that it was a lot more kid stuff, but then going to that and realizing that there's a lot that you do for the community, a lot you do for all of the entertainers here in town, and a lot of our actors of all ages, really, is what it is. And that's been a big part of the entire experience for what Saguaro City is all about. But let's talk about what you did for the kids, because your last production was Willy Wonka. And I always like to ask you when you come back, what did you learn from doing Willy Wonka? What was the experience like?
It was an amazing experience. Our summer program, Studio Arts Presents, is a free summer camp that hosts about 30 to 35 kids. And we bring them in, and the summer camp is really about producing a main stage show. And this was Willy Wonka this time. And we partner with Pima Community College, and they help give us a wonderful support system to rehearse and a wonderful environment to host this camp. We also, they help develop an internship program that we got to bring in high school students and college students that are interested in technical design and building. all that happens behind the scenes. And then we hire about 4 to 6 professional actors to perform alongside the kids. Really what we're trying to do is give the kids an opportunity to be in a professional theatrical environment so they know what that is and can aspire to do more of that in the future. But it also does something else where it allows us to produce entertainment that whether you have a child in that camp or not, you can buy a ticket and feel that you are taken care of as a patron, that we are just providing high caliber entertainment.
Yeah, and I got to see little previews of Willy Wonka all over as you were doing it all around public events. Super fun, really entertaining. And then I always ask, like, what was your favorite part of the show? But I really want to talk about what one of my favorite things from it was the last time that we were all together on Lifestyle Tucson. And I interviewed those 3 kids from Willy Wonka because I use that episode, and I implore anyone listening to go listen to our previous time that we hung out, the Willy Wonka episode of Lifestyle Tucson with Saguaro City Music Theater. It is by far, I think, the best episode that I've ever been a part of. And those kids were so fun and exciting and fun to talk to, but also so knowledgeable. And we really learned a lot about what's important to them. And it's friendship and new experiences.
And I'm sure it had a lot to do with the sugar shock that you
Willy
brought
Wonka,
in.
all right? So listen, guys, let me tell you, these fine actors, what I did. I brought in candy, but more increasingly sour candy, and we had like the kids' version of Hot Ones, okay? And it was hysterical. And again, one of the girls even yells out, "You're killing me, you're killing me." I'm like, don't shout that out loud, but at the same time, that's the theme of Willy Wonka, so we're on brand. So it was just so funny, and they were so great, and it really was fun. So again, I ask you to listen to that. It really was one of the best things I've ever been a part of. So thank you, and thank your organization for doing what you do for the community,
Thank
because
you,
it's
Frank.
a big deal. So now let's talk about the big deal that's coming up. The night that legends are made when Saguaro City Music Theater presents the $1 Million Quartet, October 4th through October 20th at the Berger Performing Arts Center at 1200 West Speedway. Let's talk about this famous night in rock and roll history. And let's ask Crystal Stark all about it. Crystal, tell me all about what's going on with this big event and what is the $1 Million Quartet? I'm sure we recognize some of the names in it. In fact, all of them, right?
Yes, you should definitely recognize all of the names. I mean, you have Elvis, right? You have Jerry Lee Lewis, you have Carl Perkins, and you have Johnny Cash. And it's a night when those 4 come together randomly to meet at Sun Records, and they have this jam session, and it's just epic that they all were in the same place at the same time to be able to have this amazing night of music. And I play the girlfriend of Elvis, who is just kind of watching this all go down. And I'm fortunate enough to be in the room and see all of this and see the dynamic that's happening between the characters and between them and their manager, some former manager, and to witness it and to just kind of be that person who is the witness that night.
That's pretty wild. And that is Crystal Stark. By the way, she is an American Idol semifinalist, an award-winning recording artist who's produced and headlined multiple one-woman shows, playing stars as Aretha Franklin, Donna Summer, Ella Fitzgerald, and Whitney Houston to sold-out audiences across the globe, and a bunch of television shows. Let's not give her too much attention. Come on.
Wow, when you put it like that.
It's so much.
Yeah, don't bury the lead.
That's what's going to be on stage at the Berger Theater, right? A lot of talent, a lot of fine entertainment, and a legend here right in our midst, right here, iconic in the studio. So that's exciting that you're joining Saguaro City Music Theater. There's going to be your first production with them. Are you excited now that you've seen the workings and as you've been introduced to how it's all been? What's it been like?
It's been a learning process because this is my first musical
Okay.
that I've ever been a part of. So it's a good one for me to do because it's more of a jukebox musical since I am used to doing more concerts and events and headlining, things like that. So just, kind of going through the script and figuring out how I want my character to be portrayed and how I'm going to play Diane has been really exciting because from what I've seen, there hasn't been a lot of women of color who've played Diane. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to maybe bring something different to the role than has been able to be brought before, just simply by that fact. So I'm very, very excited to see where it goes.
It is.
So
I
are
love
we.
it. Yeah. So let me ask you this. We talked about managers a moment ago, so let's talk to the main manager right there. Tyler Wright, studying musical theater at Brigham Young University before returning home to Arizona. Welcome back. It's a good thing you're here. Because last season, Tyler appeared in Saguaro City's productions as the dentist in Little Shop of Horrors and as Miss Trunchbull in Matilda during their big Christmas celebration. How fun is that? Thanks for being here. You do a lot of fun stuff around town at Gaslight Theater and all these other places. So tell us about Sam Phillips. That's who you're playing.
So Sam Phillips is this larger-than-life kind of personality comes from Alabama, but went to Memphis, Tennessee to start Sun Records. And this is a man who knew how to hustle. I mean, this was a guy who has a lot of pride in what he built. I've heard him called the father of rock and roll, sometimes the inventor of rock and roll. And that's because all of these guys, Elvis, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, Roy Orbison, I mean, he recorded them all, and he really prides himself on finding these young boys, basically, and seeing something in them that maybe they didn't even see in themselves. A lot of them came in, Johnny Cash, even Elvis wanted to come in doing gospel, and Sam Phillips had this other idea of, what if we do this kind of more soulful kind of blues music, and really kind of got this sound out of them, and then went and took these records that he made and then went all around the country to push this on DJs to try to get them on the radio. And so without Sam Phillips, there wouldn't be an Elvis or Johnny Cash, and that's what he likes to think anyway. It's really fun to get to play this sort of like larger than life character like that.
Well, I mean, I believe it, because when it comes to artists, sometimes artists are that, and sometimes you have to let the artists be the artists. That's why they call them the talent. That's why they need a manager, because that's the business mind. That's the mind that uses all the numbers and all the bookings and all that stuff. I can't get a hotel done for myself. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I need help with that sort of thing. But when it comes to the performing part of it, that's where you got to let these folks do what they do. And that's probably why, yes, you need management. You need these big people behind the scenes to take care of the talent on the stage and in front of the cameras. So that's a big deal to be a part of that role. Are you guys singing? Are you doing any singing in this, or what's the deal? Yeah, how much singing are you going to be doing, Crystal?
I get to do a little bit of singing,
yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I sing 2 solos in the show, and then I'm singing back up on some of the other songs. So yes, I get to be featured among these musical giants. So yeah, it'll be a fun time.
What are some of the songs that we're going to hear? Because I was reading the whole thing, and it's like over 20 hit songs that we're going to hear from, obviously, some of Elvis's biggest hits, some of Johnny Cash's biggest hits. What are some of the ones that we might not realize are some of the hits, that don't spring to the top of my head?
Well, I mean, of course, there's Blue Suede Shoes, which we kind of think of as an Elvis song, but it was actually Carl Perkins who recorded that first. Let's see, we got the famous one that you always hear from that session is they all got together and they started singing gospel songs down by the riverside, because they all kind of were brought up in the same church. They all knew this, all the words to the same hymns and everything. So let's see, we got Down by the Riverside. Matchbox is another Carl Perkins one.
Great Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire, of course.
Whole lot of shaking going on.
Oh yes, Peace in the Valley, and
Fever.
Fever is, of course, what Diane gets to sing for all of us.
Nice.
And it's a really good mix of a lot of those classics.
Just full of hits of what these guys recorded. And what I think is most interesting about it, as a jukebox musical, where we are giving the audience like the best of these artists and putting it into the context of this magical historic night in Sun Records, is that we start to learn a little bit about the relationships between Sam Phillips and how these guys got their start. And I feel like it's a family story, because you see this father-son relationship in kind of like a birth order between these 4 guys, how they were discovered, what it meant to them at this point in the story. Elvis had already left Sun Records and was recording at RCA and wasn't particularly in a good place in his life. You start to see the cracks in what ended up happening to Elvis. And we get to see that, which is so cleverly written into the script. We see that through the eyes of Diane in the conversations with Sam, because Sam is being courted by RCA to leave Sun Records or have Sun Records be adopted into RCA so he can produce for Elvis again. And Elvis really wants him to do this because he felt most protected and best led by the guiding hand of Sam Phillips. And so you kind of see that conflict. And you see it's also at the point in time when Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash are looking to also leave Sun Records and go to Columbia because they felt that they had outgrown Sun Records. But in that discussion, you kind of see how they also acknowledge that they wouldn't be who they are or where they are unless Sam gave them a chance. And so you see this sense of betrayal of like, I made you. You know, I'm your father, and you're going to leave me for another record label. And that sort of dynamic is really what the show gets to unpack of these relationships. It's all these amazing songs, but the look behind the curtain of these relationships are super important.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lee Lewis is there. Historically on that night, he was just a piano session musician for Carl Perkins' recording session. So he was just there. He was the apple of Sam's eye, but he hadn't made anything yet. Wow. He was just kind of a fly on the wall.
That's so, it's just getting a glimpse of greatness, not realizing that greatness goes on, right? That's so fascinating. It is an interesting thing to think about, the history of recording, the history of music when it comes to rock and roll, these famous record labels that were titans in entertainment. And then we watch as time goes on. And what happens is, just like any industry, things get gobbled up by bigger ones and merge, and things change a lot. I also do really appreciate Elvis on such a deep level. So let me ask you, and I'll tell you why. Who here has been to Graceland? Has anyone been to Graceland? Well, I'm going to tell you what. Tennessee's gorgeous, so you have to visit it. And Graceland is thrilling. So I'm wearing my TCB shirt, taking care of business, right? That's what Elvis is all about. I got a tattoo on my ankle because I went to Graceland when I was moving back to Tucson. And I'm going to tell you what, we all fall for the parody of things. Things get boiled down to one note a lot of times. And the parody of Elvis that gets boiled down to one note of the karate sometimes, and peanut butter and banana sandwiches and shooting the TV, like the Simpsons version of Elvis, where you boil it down into those moments. And it becomes like the parody, right? And when you go to Graceland and you take the tour and really learn the slow history of how important it is for what Elvis does, how much he helps the community, how much he helps the Black community, how much he helps people when he does fade away and disappear for a while, and then it's the comeback tour. Because Elvis said, no, I'm done, and disappeared from culture for a while. And then when it was the big return that everyone thinks, oh, it's the return, we've seen parodies of this. No, it's because it's never been done like that. He was the pinnacle. And he's like, I'm done, because of what it was. So to learn the story of Elvis and to get past all the parody of Elvis and to see what he did, the military service, the movies, all that stuff, and how important it was to culture, is fascinating. And I recommend anybody, if you're looking to make a trip, take a road trip, check out Graceland, because it's beyond the parody of what Elvis has in a way become in society, where it's just a bit silly, a bit of a cartoon character. And there's a great man behind all that and behind the music and really doing important stuff.
Well, and where this story falls, it's really before all of that happens to Elvis.
Yeah.
He's still connected. He's still grounded and hasn't been led astray by the Colonel and all of these things that really befall Elvis. And such a kind of a story of tragedy as if you really look into it. So this is right on the precipice of that. And so with that, it's really tricky to cast an Elvis because Elvis is so iconic.
That's true. That's what's a good way to put it?
Mighty big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Right.
It is. And so as we were in our search, and what we really wanted to find was we didn't want to have an impersonator or a parody of Elvis, because it didn't fit well with the story. But there's just such this genuine artist that was wildly talented that that story deserves to be told. And we really feel like we hit the jackpot with this actor named Colton Sims, who's coming in to play the role. And he's played Elvis a few times. He's a young kid, he's a young guitarist that's, still finding his own footing in the industry. I want to say he's 23 years old, and is, I think, only in the last 4 years has he become the ardent Elvis fan that he is.
Wow. Let me ask this. Does he play guitar in the show? During it?
This is the exciting thing about the show, is that the band is the band.
Wow.
So
really?
all of the actors have to also be able to play their instruments in solo. And where it gets particularly tricky in casting is you lean heaviest on Jerry Lee Lewis, because he plays the entire show.
Okay.
And also has to do all the Jerry Lee Lewis stuff that Jerry Lee Lewis does.
That's right.
And then Carl Perkins, because he's there from the very beginning of the recording session, is the lead guitarist. He's got to be quite a phenomenal electric guitar player to solo on everyone else's songs.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Johnny Cash has got to be able to accompany himself on Folsom Prison Blues, and I think he also does Down by the Riverside. I believe he's the guitarist on that. So
that is something.
So yeah, every one of and I think Diane plays a tambourine, I think. And I don't know
I
if
guessed right.
I'm not sure if Sam Phillips knows this, if Tyler knows this, but Sam Phillips, if willing, will play a little harmonica.
Nice.
Oh,
There you go.
I can't wait.
Very
I
excited.
can't wait.
And then also on stage, we've got a drummer that is character's name is Fluke, and we've got a bassist named Brother Jay, who's supposed to be the brother of Carl Perkins.
That's incredible. I mean, again, this is why we talk about these sorts of things.
Yeah.
People don't even realize what they're signing up for. Because I've read all the stuff that Ray sends me constantly about the show. It's so good. I'm on the newsletter. You got to go sign up. But yes, and getting the behind the scenes, getting your bios, learning all about it, seeing the stage production, the stage craft that starts to go into it, building the sets. What does the set design for this look like? Because the last shows have had quite elaborate sets, both Willy Wonka and then the big plant, Audrey too, in Little Shop. So what does this set actually look like? It doesn't seem like it might be as complex.
It isn't. It doesn't have a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole play takes place in Sun Records, and then there's a few scenes that take place on the street outside of Sun Records, but we don't ever have to leave the studio.
Okay.
In the way we stage it. So really the heaviest lifts of creating a design for this show is making sure there's a recording booth that we can, separate scenes that way. We need to have room for a drum set and like the whole band on stage.
Yeah.
The sound design is probably the most complicated part of mounting this show. Right now we're in discussions about how to achieve the Jerry Lee Lewis piano, whether it's going to be a keyboard built inside of a shell so that we have more safety in making the piano standable.
Sure.
When Jerry Lee Lewis has to do all that stuff. And then just making sure that, all the wires and the vintage microphones and all that doesn't get tangled as we go through the night of entertainment.
Right. That's so fascinating because it's almost like setting up for a band because it is, but it's also setting up for a play and a musical because
right.
it is. Oh, fascinating stuff. So let's talk about tickets. Tickets start at just $25 with reduced rates available for group sales and preview performances, as well as you can buy tickets to this and The Wizard of Oz, which is coming out around Christmas. And if you buy 2 shows, you save, I think, 10%. So why don't you make your plans now for the holidays and buy more than one show? Buy both shows. Tell me a little bit real quick as we're running out of time about what you got planned for The Wizard of Oz around December into January.
Well, we're excited to mount that show because it is such a story about home. And during the holidays, it's a perfect time to lean into that nostalgia of what it's like to come home. It's just so iconic, you know, and families that grew up watching the movie, it's important to their lives. This is an opportunity to bring their kids that may not have had an opportunity to experience yet, and to see it live on stage is just a wonderful experience.
Heck yeah. My first play ever was The Wizard of Oz. I was Uncle Henry and also one of the Emerald City workers. And I did the set because I can do all the cartooning and drawing.
You did all of it.
Yeah. So that was it. I got those things. I tried out for a bigger part, but I got Uncle Henry. I'm like, I'll take it. That's fine by me.
That's right. You were just padding your resume.
Yeah, I just got to do it. You got to start somewhere. But I built the big set, and that was really a big experience. And it was one of the first big outgoing experiences I had in 8th grade, and having the courage to do it, because that's important. And that's what we talked about last time with the kids, is getting those kids out there and getting past being made fun of and teased. Oh, you want to be in a play? It's like, yeah, I finally do. Leave me alone. And then you go do it. And all those people that kind of picked on you, like, you were great. That was awesome. And they picked on you and they all say, well, I can't believe you did that. I could never do it.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, why'd you make fun of me for? Because I could never do it. That's literally, I remember that conversation with someone where they complimented just like having the chutzpah to do it. And that was my first foray into being like a public performer, was finally being in The Wizard of Oz. So, I mean, theater is so important to us all, especially growing up. It gives you an opportunity to really express yourself and to really get out there. I auditioned using the Countries of the World song from Animaniacs. So quite a challenge.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, quite a challenge, but I did it. So
Quite a word-heavy patter song.
yeah, and now half those countries are gone. Because that's why they brought Animaniacs back. They get updated. But yeah, it really was a great time, and that's what's so important about all the stuff that you're doing, all the stuff that anyone can come experience with Saguaro City Music Theater at the Burger Theater in October, when they put on their great performance of this event, October 4th through October 20th at 1200 West Speedway. It is going to be the $1 Million Quartet. I'm so excited, because today we made friends with actress Crystal Stark and actor Tyler Wright, as well as Drew Humphrey, artistic director of Saguaro City Music Theater, using the art of musical theater to promote diverse artistic opportunities and community involvement. Thank you all for joining me today.
Thanks, Frank.
This was Lifestyle Tucson. Bing bong bing. Time for a recap. What a great conversation with Saguaro City Music Theater again. Again, my favorite episode of Lifestyle Tucson is talking to them last time about Willy Wonka and challenging those kids to a sour version of Hot Ones. I beg you to go listen to that episode because it is my favorite episode of Lifestyle Tucson ever. So make sure you get all the details and go see the $1 Million Quartet. I mean, I think you just got all the details, didn't you? Weren't you paying attention to them talking about Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and Elvis Presley coming together for that unforgettable jam session? Yes. So that show is going to be going on October 4th through October 20th at the Berger Performing Arts Center at 1200 West Speedway. Go get all those tickets and information over at saguarocity.org/tickets. And have the time of your life. Take the kids. It's going to be fun, and you're going to love rocking out to the $1 Million Quartet. Bring grandma too, right? Bring grandpa. Bring everybody. It's a family affair. That's what you got going on at the Berger Theater. And I love talking about theater and talking about all this stuff with the performing arts because it really was a big deal for me to kind of come out of my shell, like I was saying there, in 8th grade when I first finally went after being in the play and stopped worrying about people that are going to make fun of me for wanting to be in the play. And then I think that story is a really good lesson because then those same kids that were teasing me couldn't help but come up to me and say, "You were great." And I was like, "Why did you make me feel so bad?" And they're like, "Well, because I could never do it." And that's like, kids don't even realize that they don't know how to behave, so they just lash out, make fun of another one. And they just don't know how to react or communicate for something that they themselves kind of wanted to do, but admitted that they don't have the ability or the chutzpah to do it, like I say. And these were the athletes, these are the sports kids that wanted to maybe be in the play, but were too afraid of what people would think. So really, I really beg you to try to get your kids involved with stuff, or maybe you yourself, if you're a local actor, maybe you haven't done this in a while. Maybe you enjoy going to the Gaslight Theater and seeing some of these things. Maybe you should take advantage of an audition and try to get involved with Saguaro City Music Theater because they do hire some adults for these fun events. So go get involved and really listen back to any episode with Saguaro City Music Theater. If you or your kid wants to get involved, they offer a lot of programs and a lot of opportunity for you to be creative right here in Tucson and have some fun on stage. So I want to thank our friends at Saguaro City Music Theater for joining me today. You've been listening to Lifestyle Tucson. If you're a nonprofit that would like to be on the show, email lifestyletucson@gmail.com. For more information about this program or to listen to something you may have missed, go to the Sunday Mornings page on klpx.com, kfma.com, mixfm.com, or espntucson.com. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are laying off my blue suede shoes. Follow on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Lifestyle Tucson because I'm your BFF, your best Frank forever, Frank Powers. Toot toot Tucson. I love you the most. I really wear gold suede shoes. You know it.